Of seeing Louise work on the floor of Congress. She doesn't know this, but I happened to be in the House the day she opened the debate for Affordable Care Act. And let me tell you, there is no one stronger than Louise Slaughter standing up for us and for this community. She's one of the most unique and powerful figures in the House of Representatives. And as a microbiologist with a public health degree, she has long played a major role in health and science issues that affect us here and now. She has earned her reputation as a straight shooter and a tough fighter, especially on reproductive health issues. There is no one who's going to stand stronger for women and for Planned Parenthood services that women rely on. I bring you our candidate, Louise Slaughter.
Very much for coming out on this special afternoon to spend some time with us. I'm so happy to be here with you this afternoon. The people that I look out into this crowd and see are people that we have stood shoulder to shoulder with for so many years, fighting for causes, fighting to make America straighter and greater, fighting to make all people have a life that they can live and call their own. That's so easy to change. This morning I spent some time with people who work in the battered women's shelters. And they're telling me how they have waiting lists of people just simply to get in. Always when there's hard times, when there's trouble about jobs, when there's concern about the economy, we see the cases of both child abuse and physical and domestic abuse go up. And we are seeing some of that now, and we have to deal with that. And I'm so happy to stand here this afternoon with the nation's best women. I'm sure all of you. Terry O'Neill is a regular 5 days a week on the Ed Schultz Show, where Terry makes it clear to everybody. Then they know exactly what she means. Thank you, Jim Moore. It's nice to be heard. And as Betty DeFazio said, she and I have stood shoulder to shoulder and worked on so many issues for so many years, and it's wonderful to be here with her. Amy Dacey is like a child of mine. If the Daceys don't mind, I claim her a while. Amy worked with me in our office and was just as extraordinary as she is this afternoon. And she's got a very special place in our heart as executive director of Emily's List. She's doing wonders for women as well. I also want to thank the men who came out to stand with us this afternoon. But I'm not going to give that one. Listening to Terry, I realized, and I've thought about it, but visiting a lot of special senior centers and talking about health care. She touched on Medicaid, which is terribly important, and I want to elaborate on that for a few moments, if I may. The Ryan plan, at first I want all of you to understand that the Ryan budget, that plan is already passed the House. Lucky for us, the Senate, which frankly under Nancy Pelosi we bemoaned for its lethargy, we now appreciate the fact that they just can't get around to it. So we're tickled peek with that. And you guys remind me next time we get the house back that what I said here today. I know you will. Love you. But what the plan is for Medicaid, oh, thank you. The plan for Medicaid is so draconian, I don't think we thought about it. First, let's say about this. As you know, 8 states and the District of Columbia considered domestic violence as a pre-existing condition on the grounds that if you've been beaten up once, you would be beaten up again and they would not insure you. That was what was going on. Women paid more for their health care than men and their insurance policies. Well, the first thing that Romney says he's going to do, day one, and as Obama said that's going to be a heck of a busy day if he makes it, is he's going to repeal Obamacare. Now, what does that mean? That means that pre-existing conditions goes back to being what it is. That means it will stop the insurance companies from having to insure you. Let me tell you how serious that is. I met a woman at a senior center about 2 weeks ago who was born with cerebral palsy. Wonderful woman who brought up a family, had run a household, had children, drove cars, did everything all the rest of us do, but she never was eligible for health care until the day she reached 65 and could go on to Medicare. Can you imagine that? That's not unusual in America, and it should not be happening here. But let's look at the Medicaid dollars I started out to do. Their plan, and this has been voted on, was to cut 1/3 out of it. The rest of it would be block granted to states on a per capita basis. And as Terry pointed out, 2/3 of it goes to nursing home care. So as Reverend Sharpton, I think, put it probably better than anybody, this is not about Obama, it's about your mama. And there's no question about it, but to lose that kind of help to get good nursing home care, that would be gone. What they're talking about is an extraordinary revolution back to the 19th century. And we have to stop it. And I'm so encouraged today that all of you came out this afternoon. A lot of you, I'm sure, taking time off from work and other things that you had to do to be here with us to show the solidarity that we have to stick with to make these changes here. We have to make sure that we can go back, and we're talking about the chance of getting the House of Representatives back. It's critical that we do it. Remember that the health care bill, which is going to mean so much to so many, and does already, was only passed by 5 or 7 Democrat votes. That's all, not a single Republican vote. And I'd like to tell the story that the night we were passing it, that we heard from 65,000 nuns at a moment of grief and great despair in Nancy Pelosi's office that we were not going to make it. And those nuns sent us a message and said the following: we do the health care for the Catholic Church. Please pass the bill. And we did. Because in that group of 7 that voted for health care were some who were really moved by what the nuns had said. So you can see how legislation can get passed or not, depending on how hard people are willing to work, but most of all, people who are willing to put themselves out on the line and say what they believe. It's not getting as common in this country as it used to be. I sense a fear of growing, and I'm sure I see some nods that you see as well. People are afraid to speak up. They don't want to speak up. They don't feel quite as comfortable. They're not really sure about their constitutional rights, not quite as sure about justice. We've got to change that. I've got to go back. I need to tell you, I have to go back. I need to tell you why. I've got a reputation for doing things that other people don't do because it takes a long time. 14 years I spent on genetic non-discrimination, so that great medical research could go on and people would not be afraid to be research subjects, that they would lose their health care or their job. So that we would have that. But that took 14 years. I worked 6 years on the body armor piece, just no legislation, just in our office of working with inspectors general from the Pentagon. 2 of them snowed the heck out of us, and we told them we wouldn't take it. We finally got some cooperation out of the 3rd. Brought back 16,000 pieces of faulty armor from Iraq. 16,000 Marines and soldiers were not wounded or killed because of the work we did in our office. Not a lot of people would stick with that. Whistleblowers are telling me now. I'm hearing from whistleblowers that we need to come back and do some other work that we need to take up. 6 years we spent on criminalizing insider trading by members of Congress and their staff, using information that we get from our work that is not the public is not privy to, and we said we can't stand that, and it's now been criminalized. We are also after a piece called Political Intelligence that I won't go into, but we're working on that. But in my spare time, I am saving 7 classes of antibiotics for human beings to try to stop using them for cattle and livestock, because we're seeing such a resurgence of resistant bacteria now to so many diseases. So we have to get that done. But I'm also greatly distressed, as I'm sure you are, by what the Citizens United case is called for the Supreme Court. Citizens United case has made it possible for Karl Rove, who was identified in one book as Bush's brain, to dump $1.4 million into this district to be used against me for the last 3 weeks of the campaign. Now, I will tell you that's devastating. It is we will find out in Monroe County if we can survive, if anybody can survive $1.4 million being dumped against them. It's not the first money. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and their henchmen, the NFIB, have also been in here, mostly collecting the worst pictures of me that they can find that my family would not recognize and throwing them on the screen. But in any case, we are working so hard. The fact that you're here today, and the fact that you've been working, making phone calls, that you've been doing the canvassing, that you're putting the signs up, I think a lot of people will do what I was doing down there, and I need to go back and finish it. So if you please give me a chance, and we can go back, and we can continue to hold the banner up for women, the majority of people in the United States of America who have fought so long and hard. I marched 40 years ago for the rights to contraception. If someone had told me that in this century we would have to do it again, I would never have believed it. Our work remains. We remain steadfast to do our work.
Thank you.
And with your help, we'll get it done. Thank you. Thank you.